Yes, sir. Yeah, you're all apart, didn't you? Good morning, thank you. All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Good to see you. Today's my birthday. 57. Yep. Today, 81. All right. Good morning, sir. All right. How you doing? Good. Good morning, Jeff. How you doing? All right. Good morning, sir. All right. How you, sir? Isn't it great? Get up. Good morning. Today's my birthday. I hit him on the phone. Good to have everyone this morning. We'll start with announcements in the bulletin. They're on our website. You can go there for your announcements. We will have the quail supper. That's our annual Fall Sun Night. It's 7 p.m. at Turkey Creek and Creek House. We'll have quail supper. Jeff Phillips is going to give his witness and tell us about his mission as missionaries in Romania, and he has his whole family over just like Rob little area. Any other announcements?
Would you ask everybody to please sign the pass it down? Thank you.
I didn't know your. I know of two praises this morning. The first is Eddie Thornton's birthday. He's 57 today. So he doesn't look a day over 56. And the other, this is a little bit of a long story. I'll try to make it as short as possible. As you know, Donna Burke here was adopted. She was adopted from a family in Germany. Her mother was from East Germany. Those of y'all who remember East and West Germany at one point were divided following World War II. It was illegal to cross from East into West Germany. And if you did that, you were arrested if you tried. If you were caught coming back, you were arrested. Her mother was arrested on her return from West Germany after giving birth to Donna. So when she returned to East Germany, she was arrested. The reason she was arrested is that her brother turned her in to the East German police, to Stadler. Now, I say all that to say that that is a horrible fate to happen in your family, that your own brother would turn you in. But there was a lot of things going on in Germany at that time. It was a scary place to be. You wanted to obey the rules, and if you didn't, you got in trouble. Well, things have changed dramatically in 60 years, and now, of course, Germany's been reunited for the last almost 20 years now. And in that time, things have changed. And one of the wonderful things that have changed is the change in a relationship. This past week, a couple weeks ago, the brother called to the sister and said, "I'm sorry, I did the wrong thing." They hadn't spoken in 50 years. And now they're reconciling with one another. Sometimes reconciliation takes a long time. But God never stops working. And that for us is a moment of prayer. And now we turn it over to Gene. Let's stand together singing, "My life is in you, Lord." My life is in you, Lord, my strength is in you, Lord, my hope is in you, my life is in you, Lord, my strength is in you, Lord, my hope is in you, Lord, in you. All of my Turn around and speak to someone, tell them you love them. I'll be glad to hear you. We don't have an asterisk by the bulletin, so I'll just sit down to the Apostles' Creed, I guess. Okay. We're going to join together now in this historic confession of our Christian faith, the Apostles' Creed. We've had a request that we do the Gloria Patri. And for years in churches, every time I did the Apostles' Creed, I was just used to right immediately after that, starting to sing the Gloria Patri. So for the season of Lent, for the next 6 Sundays, we're going to sing Gloria Patri after this. Gene requested it, so if y'all ever did it, we did. But Gene had requests given to him for it, so it wasn't all him. Let's join together now in this historic confession of our Christian faith. I believe in God the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, and in Jesus Christ, his only Son, our Lord, who was conceived by the Holy Spirit, born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified, dead, and buried. The third day he arose from the dead. He ascended into heaven, and sitteth at the right hand of God the Father Almighty. From thence he shall come to judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the Holy Spirit, the Holy Catholic Church, the communion of saints, the forgiveness of sins, the resurrection of the body, and the life everlasting. Amen.
Good morning. Good morning. How are y'all? Okay, well, I'm gonna ask you a really serious question. I want a real answer, okay? If you ever got in trouble. Did you raise your hand? I don't know what happened. Yeah, somebody get in trouble in my house, she said. Oh, you don't get in trouble in my house. I'm a student. I don't know what happens all the time with y'all when you get in trouble. At my house, most of the time, they get pretty time. Have you ever gotten put in time out? No. At your house? I thought you didn't get in trouble at your house. Samuel said he only got put in time out as a victim, but now he does. And Mackenzie puts herself in time. Well, I often that it should be. Well, when you get put in time, I take one more example. I have puppies at my house. And one of them, Marley, my little 4-month-old Rocky Terrier, likes to get in Mackenzie's face, get in Rick's face and lick her. And every time she does it, I put her in time out and put her in her running clothes to go. So for the next day or two, she won't get in Rick's face and lick her. And then she forgets and she does it again when we go time out. Well, when you're in time out, what do you do? What do you do with it? You sit there for waiting 2 minutes, and they're good, down. They're good. Both of them are very good. Same. Very good. In the chair in the corner. Rosie.
Think about what you've done in your mom will let you get up.
Think about what you've done, and your mama will let you get up. Come on. still bad after you've been time out, you'll get a spanking. Summer night, or same way one. Carson said you get a spanking with a stick or a belt. I promise it's never been my house. You know that when we're in time out, God wants us to do something while we're there. He wants us to do what y'all said. He wants us to think about what we did wrong. He wants us to think about what you did wrong and to pray about it and talk to him about it. And when you get out of time out, he really likes you to apologize. Put you in time out, whatever you did wrong. That's right, say you're sorry. When you say you're sorry, really sincerely mean it. Sometimes we have a problem with saying I'm sorry, and not really mean it. You're in time out. He says I'm sorry, and doesn't mean it. Mackenzie, we're letting go back down here, okay? Okay. Well, listen. Just remember, anytime you're in time out, it's okay to be in time out. It happens. Sometimes I have to put myself in time out, just so I can kind of calm down. Okay? But when you're in time out, think about what you've done, talk to God about it, pray about it, and when you come out of time out, sincerely apologize. Okay? Say, I'm sorry, I'm trying not to do that again, or whatever the situation is, okay? Will you pray with me? Dear God, thank you for caring for us so much. Help us to take time out of each day to remember you and all that you do for us. In your name we pray.
Our prayer course is printed in your book. You may remain seated as we sing one.
What year was it that David Hart, Bill, Wade Turner, you, and me, and Ryan went to the V-Man March in Washington, D.C.? 35. How old was Ryan? 10. Well, there at the monument, Washington Monument, we had prayer, a million men in prayer. And we were praying for forgiveness of certain things we had done as men. One of them was it wasn't Jesus kind of line, but it was something along that line. And as we would pray, I just kind of watched Ryan, we prayed the same thing all the time. That was one of the moving times in prayer, watching the young men pray and something he had done. Our prayer request, law enforcement, Shay Shingler, Sherry Shaw, Michael Moore, Peter Pitt, Margaret Pitt, Art Holland, Bill Wiedemeyer, Unspoken, Eric Stover, Wilson Gibson, Robert Lloyd, James Davis, Family of Margaret Williams, Chief Carrot, Owen Houston, Family Braxton Gibbons, Holly Edwards, Stacy Uganda Guest, Young Marriages, Our Nation, Israel, Lacey Applegate, Eddie Thornton, Edward Barber, Joe Barber, Missy Moore, Agnes Moses, George Miller, Miriam Stewart, Unspoken, Wes Thompson.
As I said last week, and I'll remind you again, the reason I asked you to have a moment of silence is that often you have a thought or a prayer or something that's keeping you from communicating with God and sharing about what other people need, because there's something on your heart that's keeping you from doing that. So at this moment, give up whatever it is that's in your heart and Lord, and then we can pray together for all the others that are in need. Let us pray. Lord, there's brokenness. There's brokenness in our hearts, brokenness in our bodies, brokenness in the things around us. Today, Lord, the Wi-Fi system decides to go down. It worked yesterday, but today it doesn't. We don't know why. Lord, yesterday, Lord, our marriages were perfect, and today they're not. Lord, yesterday our children were perfect, and today they're not. Or today they're perfect, and yesterday they were not. Lord, yesterday we loved our neighbors, and today we can't stand the sight of them. There's brokenness. And Lord, one of the many reasons for brokenness is negligence. We don't spend time. We ignore one another. We ignore our spouses and expect things to be perfect still. We ignore our children and expect them, Lord, to just grow up. We ignore our neighbors. And then we forget that they too have needs and pains. We ignore our bodies, Lord. We eat whatever we want. We don't exercise, and somehow our body doesn't work as well as it used to 5 years ago, 10 years ago. Lord, we ignore our relationship with you. We know that you're always going to be there. We know that you're always present with us, Lord, but we get so busy. We think about other things and other people that we forget that we're supposed to spend time with you. Lord, we break many things. And those that we lifted up by name today, Lord, may not have been broken by something they did. It happened because someone else did it. So Lord, we need for healing to take place. Restoration of bodies and minds and spirits. Restoration, Lord, of relationships between us and you. And between us and one another. Lord, I pray for reconciliation, for healing. And I pray these things in the name of Jesus, who taught us to pray, saying, Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory.
Step forward. Father God, we thank you for all of your many blessings. We thank you for your love and your mercy. We come to return to you today that portion which we give to you with an open heart. And we pray in the precious name of Jesus.
We have a very special treat this morning, our men's Bible class. I'm going to share the music with us. Y'all come on. All in the church who wants spake to the unclouded day. Oh, the land of cloudless day. Oh, the land of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of a home where the storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of a king and his beauty there. And they tell me that my eyes shall behold, where he sits on the throne that is white and snow, in the city that is made of gold. Oh, the land of unclouded day. Oh, the land of unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of a home where the storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me that the smiles for the children there, and the smiles drive the sorrows all away. And they tell me that the tears never come from tears. Yeah, that's something that an unclouded day. Oh, the land of unclouded day. Oh, the land of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of the home where the storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day. Yeah. Oh, the land of an unclouded day. Oh, the land of an unclouded day. Oh, they tell me of a home where the storm clouds rise. Oh, they tell me of an unclouded day.
Our scripture that comes to us from Psalm 25, verses 1 through 10. It'll be on the screen, but you can also turn and look at it in the Bible if you have those with you. They get hot in the road, I don't know why. A minister was walking down the street when he came upon a group of about 10 boys between the ages of 10 and 12. The group had surrounded the dog, and so the pastor was concerned. He walked up to the boys, afraid they might be trying to hurt the dog. He went over and he said to them, "What are y'all doing with that dog?" One of the boys said, "This is just an old neighborhood stray, but we all want him. But only one of us can take him home. So we decided that whichever one of us can tell the biggest lie will get to keep the dog." The Reverend was taken aback for a moment. "You boys shouldn't be having a contest telling lies," he said. He then launched into a 10-minute sermon against lying, quoting everything he could think of in Scripture. He began with, "Don't you boys know it's a sin to lie?" And then he ended with this thought: "Why, when I was your age, I never told a lie." There was dead silence for about a minute. And just when the pastor thought he had finally gotten through the boys, the smallest one looked up and said with a deep sigh, "I guess he gets the dog." I don't think they got what that pastor was trying to say. Do you? Sometimes a pastor stands up to preach and says things that are not heard, or says things that are not said. Y'all get what I'm saying? We often hear what we think we heard, but it may not be what was spoken, or may not have been the intention of what was spoken. Just so I'm clear, I'm going to ask you to repeat this back to me, so listen carefully. This sermon and every sermon that I preach is designed with one purpose in mind: to draw you closer to God. So, why do I preach? Closer to God. Very good. Now, there's lots of ways to look at doing that. There's lots of ways to talk about doing that. And there's lots of things that we need to talk about. But my goal is always to draw you closer to God. If you've never been close to God, then my goal is to help you be one with Christ. But once you've been one, there's a lot more that gets involved in being a Christian than just simply saying it or showing up on a Sunday morning or a Wednesday night. There's a lot more to being a follower of Christ than simply saying the words, I believe. That's step one. But there's a lot of steps that preceded that on God's behalf. And there's a lot of steps after that that will work because of God through you. We often, if we were Baptists, we would say we backslid. Y'all ever heard that phrase before? Some of y'all are former Baptists, you know that phrase well. You backslid because you know the people, not you. As United Methodists, we simply say this: we need grace. We need God to say, come back. And just so y'all know, God always says, come back. God never rejects us. It is us who reject God. And so when the end comes, and there's that line of sheep and goats, and standing in front of God in heaven, the ones who are standing in the sheep line are the ones who said, I will follow God, and did. And there are those who were standing in the goat line and said, I never followed him. My choice. When you recognize that you need God, when you recognize that you've been broken, when you recognize that it is time to return to God, that is because of God's grace for you. There is a grace that the United Methodists talk about, and some of you, I hope, have heard this word before: prevenient grace. Anybody know what that word is? It's the grace that comes before. You can think of it as the same root word as prevention. God wants you. Long before you even know there's a God, God wants you. Last year when we baptized G, we began a passage for her that will lead to confirmation. The next Sunday night we're going to start confirmation with those who are in the 5th grade and older. But that's not the end of the journey either. You see, as we are prevented from sinning and falling away from God by God's grace, God then convicts us of our sin. And that's where we begin now in the Psalms. We're convicted of our sins by justifying grace. And then we're moved on to perfection with sanctifying grace. The grace that makes us better than we were. This is God. Hear now how God did it, or at least partly of what God did, with the Psalm of David, Psalm 25. To you, O Lord, I lift up my soul. The psalmist is reminding us that we are to turn our hearts, our minds, our bodies, our souls back to God. We lift our souls up not to human beings, not to each other, but to God. Our soul belongs to God. This very life, the breath that is within me at this moment, is a gift from God. You think you can survive without God's gifts? Go ahead. Try to live without breath from God in the next minute. See what happens. It's a gift from God. And here in part, I think is where we begin to mess up. At the very beginning. By not recognizing that we belong to God, not to ourselves. We think that after we join the church, we've committed our lives to God, that we can take back control. Okay, God, thanks for cleaning me up. I'm good. I'll see you in about 70 years upstairs, right? See you then. I got it from here. Y'all look at these beautiful altar calls up here. Y'all see it? Maybe you can't quite see it, but trust me, it's there. It's beautiful. Last year, I pulled out the blue claws a year ago at Christmas. And there on one of the blue claws was a piece of duct tape. Y'all know duct tape works really, really well. And that if you dare to pull it off of whatever you put it on, it doesn't want to come off. But when it does come off, it leaves residue. It leaves a stain. Well, Renee and I talked about it, and Renee took it to a dry cleaner to get it cleaned. I don't know if the dry cleaner even would clean it for us, would they? They wouldn't even touch it. They wouldn't clean it. Well, somehow they got mostly clean. I believe Renee did some hard work on those to get them right. She put them back into the box. About 2 weeks ago, she was cleaning out that box and noticed that every one of the altar cloths had duct tape on. I don't know how it got there. I don't know who put it there. It probably was an accident. It probably fell down from some shelf into that box. But now every one of the cloths have a residue of duct tape on it. And dry cleaners won't touch it. I got the residue off of this cloth for me. I'm not telling you how I did it though. It's my secret. I'll be glad to do the rest of it if nobody else wants to do it. I learned something. If you find duct tape on a piece of altar cloth, throw away the duct tape. Don't leave it in the box. Because then it's going to stain the rest of it. And it did. If we turn to God for cleansing, don't go back into the old ways. Don't get back in the same spot and do it all over again. Oh, I messed up again. Sorry, God. Fix me this time. I'm good. Great. Oh, let me get back in the box over here. How did I get dirty again? When you turn it over to God, when you lift up your soul to God, you've got to get out of the spot that put you in the trouble in the first place. We have to turn over to God and trust God. And let God lead us away from the part that messes us up. In verse 2, the psalmist says this, "Oh my God, in you I trust. Do not let me be put to shame. Do not let my enemies exult over me. Do not let those who wait for you be put to shame. Let them be ashamed who are wantonly treacherous." The psalmist wants justice. They want things to be right, to be reconciled, to be the way they're supposed to be. They don't want those who keep doing the sinful acts to keep winning. I don't know how many of y'all are New England Patriot fans. I don't know who the New England Patriots are. Twice, they've been caught cheating on the way to the Super Bowl. They've won the Super Bowl 4 times. I don't know if they cheated the whole time. They didn't cheat at all, but somebody made it look like they were cheating. But their 4 victories in the Super Bowl are tainted because people believe that they cheated. Whether they cheated or not, they gave the impression that they cheated. They let the world think they cheated. And those who don't like the New England Patriots because they don't like cheaters want to strip them of their wins. Now, how do they cheat? They let the air out of the ball. I'm not a professional quarterback. I can't even throw the ball more than 40 yards. I can't imagine what difference 1.5 pounds of pressure makes in throwing a football. But it's apparently enough to give an edge to one team over another. They cheated. Years ago, they cheated. Right before the Super Bowl, they were playing the St. Louis Rams, and they went into the stadium and they videotaped the Rams as they were making their plays on the goal line during practice. So that when the game time came, they knew exactly what they were going to do. They cheated. We want justice. It's not fair. They shouldn't have those Super Bowls. They shouldn't have those trophies and those rings. Justice is what we want. In the 1960s, there was a group of men accused of a hate crime. They were arrested, they were beaten, they were thrown in jail and left to rot. They were finally let out of jail a few weeks later. And after they were let out of jail, the taint of their crime hung with them for 50 years. Here's the problem, though. They didn't do it. And so 50 years later, they had another trial. And this trial, the son of the judge was now a judge presiding. And he exonerated those men. He declared the trial null and void, and he erased from the public record their arrest and their imprisonment. It doesn't take away the pain of 50 years, though, does it? It doesn't take away the anguish they had to go through, the losses they suffered. Who's going to hire an ex-con? Not me. We want justice, but God's timing doesn't work on our timing. Justice happens in God's time. Here's an illustration for you about how God's time works. A preacher went into his church. He knew they needed new windows. He knew they needed new carpet. He knew they needed a new roof. So he began to pray. He said, God, I'm thinking about this, and I wonder, how long is 10 million years to you? And God said, 1 second. The next day, the preacher was again in the sanctuary, and he was praying, and he said, God, how much is $10 million to you? And God said, a penny. The third day, the preacher went into the sanctuary, and he was praying again, and he said, God, I really could use one of your pennies. And God said, just wait a second. God's justice and timing is much different than ours. You see, God can see eternity. We only see this short life that we have. 76 years is that average lifespan. 76 years is all you get. Now, some of you are older than 76 years. Great. And Homer, don't listen to this, but if you live past 76 years, you've already beat what the doctors expect you to do whatever you want. No, you should listen to your doctors. You can live a long time. But remember that no matter how old you get, your perspective is not nearly as big as God's. The psalmist was beginning to get that. He wanted to know God's ways, and so we hear in verse 4 these words, make me to know your ways, O Lord. Teach me your paths. Lead me in your truth. Teach me. For you are the God of my salvation. For you I wait all day long. The psalmist wants to know truth. And as followers of God, we have to want to know the truth as well. Even though it's going to cause pain. Sometimes knowing the truth hurts. And so we turn now to verse 6. Knowing the truth is going to cause pain, this is what the psalmist says. Be mindful of your mercy, O Lord, and of your steadfast love. The man has been of old. Do not remember the sins of my youth or my transgressions. According to your steadfast love, remember me for your goodness' sake, O Lord. If you think back to the days of your youth, maybe you'll have a smile on your face. You think back to the fun days, the joys, laying out on a lazy summer afternoon in the grass in the backyard and looking at the clouds go overhead. Maybe you remember going on family trips, piling in the car and driving in the family station wagon across country. Maybe you couldn't wait to go back to school, at least the first day of school, because that's going to be okay. The other 179 are not always fun. But the first day is fun. New teachers, new classrooms, new friends. Some of us, though, think about the days of our youth and we cringe. We remember the foolish things that we did. I can't believe I did that. What was I thinking? We think about our parents and how little they knew when we were a child or when we became a young adult. Our parents were so foolish, they didn't know anything. And then, of course, as we get older, Mark Twain said this: "When I was 10, I thought my parents knew everything. When I became 20, I was convinced they knew nothing. Then at 30, I realized I was right when I was 10. If we think of God as our heavenly parent, then we begin to see God in the light of this quote. God knows what's best. And when we're young and we trust in God completely, it's easy to see that God knows best. But as we grow older, we begin to see that the world is not as easy as we hoped. That is when we need God even more. We realize that God is pretty smart after all. We recognize just how good God is. We hear this in verse 8. Good and upright is the Lord. Therefore he instructs sinners in the way. He leads the humble in what is right and teaches the humble his way. All the paths of the Lord are steadfast love and faithfulness for those who keep his covenant and his decrees. I'm trying to be louder than the car alarm. I hope y'all hear this. And it's not. Then it starts again. We have to be humble before the Lord and let God lead us. There's a great phrase for us. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, and he will lift you up higher and higher, and he will lift you up. If we're going to be raised up by God, we have to first get on our knees. We have to first turn to God and admit that we don't know how to do it ourselves, that we are broken, that we need God. We have to be humble. To be humble means you have to give up. You have to realize how poorly you've done in life. Now you might say, preacher, I haven't done so poorly in life. I have a nice home. I have nice cars. I have a wonderful spouse. I have great children. I don't feel a need for God to take over. I have all that I need. But here's where the Protestant work ethic works against us. Maybe you've heard that term before, Protestant work ethic. It was espoused so long for us in our country. It's gotten us into trouble. We measure our lives according to standards that we set. It was a term coined by Max Weber in 1905, and it was given to us, and then a later definition came along, written by Frank Charlotte, who argued that the Protestant work ethic was long considered inescapable for American political figures. Here's this quote now from Frank Charlotte. There was a time in the United States when a candidate for public office could qualify with the electorate only by fixing his birthplace in or near the log cabin. He may have acquired a competence or even a fortune since then, but it was in the tradition that he must have been born of poor parents and made his way up the ladder by sheer ability, self-reliance, and perseverance in the face of hardship. In short, he had to be self-made. The so-called Protestant ethic then prevalent held that man was a sturdy and responsible individual, responsible to himself, his society, and his God. Anybody who did not measure up to that standard could not qualify for public office or even popular respect. One who was born with a silver spoon in his mouth might be envied, but he could not aspire to public acclaim. He had to live out his life in the seclusion of his own class. We've twisted the logic of the song. Pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Be self-made. That quote came from as early as 1834. Pull yourself up by your own bootstraps. If we don't recognize the advantages that God gives to us, if we don't see how God has given us the opportunity to become self-made, then God can easily take it away. And we'll realize how little we have on our own. God promises to take away the stain of sin, the pain that comes with that sin. He promises to restore us to the fullness of life in our right minds, followers. And in response, he asks us to give our whole selves to him. Now, for years, churches have asked for and received a tithe. But we set that as the maximum standard. Malachi 3:10 says to bring the whole tithe into the storehouse. But that's not what God really requires. That's the minimum, not the maximum. What God wants really comes to us from Acts chapter 2, when it says that those who believed gave all that they had to God. God wants our whole selves. You can begin with the tithe, with the tenth, but continue then to give of yourself to the Lord and let him give back to you what you need. This morning, we're having our pledge Sunday. A chance for you to lay upon the altar your pledge before the Lord and before the church. If you have it with you, pull it out. In a moment, I'm going to ask you to come forward to lay it on the altar. If you don't have it with you, but you want to come and pray at the altar, you're welcome to do that as well. But the Lord wants us to give our whole selves to him. Not 10%, not 1%, all of ourselves to him. And trust that he will give us back what we need. So come this morning as we sing our closing hymn and give yourself to the Lord, knowing what he can do if you do. Amen.
Hymn number 723. It says first verse. We're going to sing all of them. They are on the screen, so you may want to get the hymn book for this. 723. Let's stand together.
You want to gather at the river with the saints? I believe that we all do. And if you want to be there, you need to have a relationship with God. Let Him cleanse you. Let Him restore you so that you can be there with Him and rejoice together at the river. Go now in peace. Amen.